Alright, so like an idiot, I recorded this video before and I realized I didn't show you guys the settings. So let me just get that first. So no VSync, obviously 1440p, 100% res scale, full screen ultra. There's no upscaling in this game. So preset ultra, and yeah, we were there already. I haven't, removed it. So notice how this game performs on the 4080. So in the city where there's obviously more people around, I was getting about 250. I wouldn't say 240. I was getting a pretty solid 250. And in other areas like around the church and stuff, I was getting 300. And here in this farmland, I'm getting 300 as well, but not consistently, more like spikes to 300. It does hit 300 fairly regularly, but and so why I made this video is because number one, unfortunately, broadcast and recording actually tanks quite a bit of frames in GPU bound scenarios, and this game is very GPU bound. Now, as I mentioned before in previous videos, this card's max volt is 1.11 volts. We're sitting at 1.04 right now because the current load is just way too damn high. So I also want to make a point, guys. I actually crashed during the first go of this video. I've been playing this game for like 2 hours now, but I did crash, and that's because this card, depending on how much of the GPU you use, actually, and when I say how much you use, I mean the harder the game, and depending if you're using DXR or not, this card will have very large differences in how much offset clock you can run. So for example, in this game right now, we're at plus 135 offset, which gives us 2880 at 1.04 volts. Now, if I up that to by 15 and then had it running at 29 10 or whatever at the same voltage, it would actually probably crash after a while, just like it crashes in Port Royal. In Port Royal, the max offset in this card is 60 megahertz lower than the the lowest offset in the other 3D Mark benchmarks. So Speedway, Firestrike, Time Spy, they can all do between 180 and 225 offset. On Port Royal, you're not doing more than 120, and that's not even possible on the stress test. On the stress test, it's more like 105. So the Lovelace architecture is actually very interesting, and you have to be really careful because depending on what you play, you're going to have really large differences in core clock, because depending on how much of the die you're using, you're going to have a large delta in how much you can actually push through that die. Now, in this game right now, we're literally doubling the 3080's FPS. We're doubling it. I'm telling you right now, in a similar area to this, I was getting between 130 and 150. I think maybe you got 160 at sometimes. It might have been a 170 spike here and there. But I'm telling you right now, this game is running at more than 50% over 3080. I'm telling you right now, more than 50%. There's no way that, the 3080 wasn't even running 150 that consistently. It would sometimes dip. So this card is really, in this scenario where it's 100% utilized, where it's actually not bottlenecked, it's doing extremely well. Now with 4K, the funny thing is that, like I said again, the memory bus means you actually drop performance in 4K compared to the bigger cards with the 320 with bus and 3080, for example. But when you have 1440p and then a really high load, you actually see a really good uplift like you're seeing over here. So hope you guys enjoy this video, just to demonstrate how this card actually does when you're maxing it out and then making it run in its ideal conditions. And it does really well, trust me, it does really well. Plus, notice how the power draws only 340 watts. That's maxing out my V-BIOS. I think it's 350 watts, but then obviously my RGB is drawing 10 watts, which is useless, but whatever. 3080 was hitting 400 plus watts, consistently hitting at 80 degrees. This card is running at 60. So, again, Forza said, in these hard scenarios for 3080, where it's running at 400 watts, hitting 80 degrees, this card is hitting 60 and running 100 watts less. And it's still doubling the FPS almost. So this card is actually, depending what you're using it for, it's insane. This is an interesting use case, guys. But 30 frames right now, I've been recording for 4 minutes now. Tell me if the FPS dropped below, it didn't really drop that far in the lowest dips. It's pretty consistent. It's a pretty legit 300 FPS almost in this area. I've seen more. Obviously, we need to walk in the shade. Now it's at 350 because obviously we're staring at nothing. So now in this really random area, it's hitting 350 and stuff. But here in the outside, when there's lighting effects, and there's trees and stuff moving, now you're seeing 260, 250 around this corner. And then once you get over here, it'll be 280 again. So obviously it depends where you look, but this card is doing insanely well, guys. Ultra 1440p play till innocence, 300. in some areas, and a pretty strong 300. It happens a lot, so very impressive. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. 4080 is sick, dude. It's a really good card. It's surprisingly good. I have no idea how this card with this few shaders it has like no shaders, dude, but this card is somehow doing wonders. I honestly, I'm like very confused, because like right now, literally, like I'm telling you right now, if I'm at 380, if I'm staring right here at 380, I'm telling you right now, 160 frames is the most you're getting. Like, there's no way you're getting more than 160 frames. I played this game for like 4 hours straight with 380, and well, not 4 hours, fucking shit, more like 2 hours. So I played for like 2 hours straight with 380, and I'm telling you right now, I never saw like 200 frames ever. And I think 170 is a good max I was seeing at regular intervals, and then 150 was happening as well quite often. So yeah, this card is quite fast. I really don't know how, but it is. So yeah, just an interesting video, and I'll check you guys.